promotion tournament. It's me, Dan Orks Harrison, and joining me is Will Viper Whittingham.
I'm here. I'm this side of the camera.
Yeah, you're
Look
actually,
alive.
you're
I'm loving
casting.
it. Oh, this is so good.
For anyone who's wondering, Will normally is one of our observers, and this is his casting debut. So he's here to bring some exciting, high-stakes games.
Yeah.
As we are in the promotion tournament, there are 4 teams fighting today to get into the UKLC or return there for 2 of them. And there is 1 spot available.
Yeah, there's only 1, so 3 of these teams are going home. Bit different from what we had last time, where we had 2 teams surviving. Obviously, 2 new teams coming in last time round. Envision was one of those teams. They could be going home.
Yeah, and it'd be a massive hit because Envision, although they haven't had the best split, they have had some solid, memorable performances.
Sure.
There's been Brelia's dad, which everyone has loved. He's a national treasure. But either way, I think it shows that it can be very rough when you get put down in the promotion relegation. The fact that both teams who went down their last split managed to get knocked out was a pretty big hit, but now the stakes are even higher because out of Barrage and Envision, one of them is guaranteed not to make it back in the UKLC.
Yeah, of course, lowering numbers. So one of those teams going to be going away. And of course, that doesn't include DegreeSports and the retirement home, which are coming into this tournament fresh off the blocks. They're new kids on the block, some older players, of course, and they're going to look to dethrone both of these teams and get their way into the UKLC for next year.
Yeah, so for anyone who wasn't aware, we did have some games played yesterday. There were 4 teams. There was Blong Steelers, there was Bulldog Esports, who you may know if you've been around, DegreeSports and Barrage Retirement Home. Those 4 teams battled in a double elimination best of 1 bracket. And it was DegreeSports who got through. They were the first team.
Yep.
And then the second team to get through was Barrage Retirement Home. So those teams will be the ones joining us today, trying to fight their way through. And obviously DegreeSports coming in with pretty high expectations because initially everyone was doubting them. They were saying maybe the uni team isn't worth a spot. But they proved that they could beat the other 3 teams available. The open team, the team that got a spot from Insomnia, which is Bulldogs, and then the team which got a spot from Blong Arena Clash.
Yeah.
Was Blong Steelers.
And those games that we had, they just kind of had everything. I've been watching through them today. Baron steals, massive team fights, huge throws. Some interesting picks as well, which we might get into when the teams come up. But there was a lot going on, and I'm so excited to see these guys come in against an Envision team who have had a couple of changes and looked pretty good in Forge Champions. And this Barrage team that came in and they beat XL. And there's been a lot of talk about that, but they beat XL, and that's super hype. They've got a new look roster. They're coming in all fight, and they want to really prove that they're quite a storied org. They want to be back again for 2020.
Yeah, and if you're interested in any of these matches we're talking about, including Forge Champions, where these teams did have a chance to compete, you can check it out on our YouTube. It's LVP UK LOL. All these games will be available there for you to watch if you want to do a little bit catch up before we get started. If you want to let us know what your thoughts are, maybe you have a favorite you think we're going to go through, you can tweet at us using the hashtag Forge of Champions, or just add us on Twitter, LVP UK LOL, so hit us up there. We're interested to hear your opinion, hear who you're supporting, hear who you think is going to be the MVP of the promotion tournament as well, because obviously a lot of players coming in who want to not just get their spot in the UKLC back, but prove themselves as a player.
Yeah, and of course, you could say, even if these teams don't qualify, only 5 are getting through, but it's not necessarily just 5 players. If you perform well in this tournament, teams will look at you and think, oh, maybe you could be an upgrade on one of our positions.
Well, that's the thing, is that Viggo was on Darkspawn when he got knocked out.
Very true.
He then joined Demise, one of the teams that did knock him out, and they've had a great split so far, despite sometimes people have low expectations for the teams who come through promotions. Demise had a really solid run in the tournament, but we do have a bracket to show you. So obviously we talked about how it was double elimination best of 1. Today it is double elimination best of 3. Other than the final, which is a weighted best of 5. So up first, we're going to have Envision up first is Barrage against DegreeSports, and then we have Envision Esports against Barrage Retirement Home. And those 2 teams will play, and then obviously the losers go down to the lower bracket. Will have to fight their way through if they want to have a chance to get in the UKLC. And once again, 1 team will be making it back to join the 7 other teams who are currently still in the UKLC for 2020, or at least the first part of it, the spring split.
Yeah. I think it's easy to say this is the biggest ticket in UK esports for League of Legends. These teams are looking to fight against the best. The winner of this tournament is going to go and play Fnatic. They're going to go play XL next split. You want to be there, and you need to prove that your team has it what it takes, especially for these open teams that are coming in from an open tournament and from the university scene. You've got to come out and prove the way we came in is the biggest way, and we want to prove that we are the best.
Yeah, because you're not just representing your own team, you're representing the way in which you joined. Because I know a lot of the people at DegreeSports, people were kind of, throwing some shade towards the university teams, but they proved themselves yesterday. And these are some of the games. So up first, this is Barrage Retirement Home playing against Bulldogs. They had some monstrous performances, particularly from the likes of Varao and Scoot, their mid-jungle duo.
Yeah, of course. Bulldog did manage to pick up a game against DegreeSports in the Open Qualifier today or yesterday. So they actually looked very, very good, Bulldog, and it's a shame we weren't going to see them today. But DegreeSports, they were just more consistent across the whole bracket. They did manage to win that final important game. And this is the first game where they did actually lose, but they're still putting in a lot of good plays. They're still winning team fights, and they've got some interesting picks. You can see the Ivan on your screen there. Not something we see too often.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me for DegreeSports is that they have their way of playing and they're very good at it. And I think a lot of people are very focused on what the meta is. I think particularly teams who have come from the UKLC, they've gone up against the likes of Fnatic XL who have their own view on the meta, something that translates into them playing at EU Masters. And they sort of try and copy that because obviously it's seen as the optimal way to play. But for DegreeSports, they play how they think is best for them as a team. Not necessarily for every team in the world. It may be a bit different to what you've been seeing at Worlds in the recent month, but this is how DegreeSports play.
Yeah, and they do, as you say, do it very, very well. And of course,
other than that, I just saw that massive well morph into the
team fight turns. Blue Spirits wasn't playing in Forge of Champions. If you go back and watch those VODs, he wasn't in that marksman position. They've changed up their bot lane for yesterday, and they've looked very, very good down there with Blue Spirits and Longstaff down in the bot lane.
Absolutely, and strong performance yesterday. But looking at some of the other teams, Barrage Retirement Home did struggle at a time, but Bulldogs were actually managed to get knocked out. So Bulldogs were a team that formerly were in the UKLC in the spring split and then got knocked down there. And this was the opportunity to come back up. And they did have some solid performances, but unfortunately just not quite enough.
Yeah, this is a bit of a team fight that's quite interesting. I want to get your take on this, Orcs. When's the engage going to come through? Because we see this a lot in UKLC where you see abilities coming through. Where's the engage? Who's going to do it?
It just feels like they're playing.
There it is.
Yeah, there's the Rakarnal coming in pretty huge. Just the power of the Wimble. And honestly, some really excellent team. I think that's a big takeaway is that a lot of these teams have been leaning on tank top laners.
Yeah, for sure.
Which, again, you see things like the Jace picked. I mean, there's a couple of tanks being played at Worlds, the likes of Ornn and Poppy, but these teams have lent on them heavily, and that lends them to more for team fighting style. And I think that has been the talking point of yesterday in the promotion tournament, is that these teams were looking to take these massive team fights and just outskill their opponents. And honestly, it's been really entertaining to watch. I think even if you're not massively invested in any of these teams yet, you may end up becoming a fan at the end of these 3 days, just from the personality that show in their picks, in their team fights.
Yeah, 100%. And team fights are always more interesting to watch than people standing or like moving around. Lane control is very pretty. I enjoy watching a bit of lane control, a bit of a Baron dance every now and again. But I kind of want to just see two high-level teams smash into each other.
Yeah, and if you can't get that, then two promotion teams
smashing each other. No, these teams are very, very good. We're about to jump into our first match and talking about our first match, which is going to be DegreeSports. And they're going to be coming in against Barrage, who were the bottom team in the UKLC. And they didn't look good, I think it's fair to say. They've had some changes now. And Forge Champions was a completely different story.
Yeah, so they definitely look better. I have to say, I feel like there has been a massive change, and we have the graphic for Envision and Barrage Retirement Home. So I'm getting a little bit confused as to which game is coming first, because on the schedule it just say Barrage against DegreeSports. I'm just gonna keep going with that. But I think Barrage, there was a lot of expectations coming into this split. I feel like particularly having Monkeys on the roster was the big talking point. Monkeys was a player who prior to this summer split had never missed an EU Masters, so always getting at least top 2 in the UK scene. And then unfortunately did not make it this split. They had a massively underwhelming performance. They went through countless roster changes, but this final iteration of the roster, which may be the one that gets them through to the next stage, looked pretty positive. They had much better results. They managed to be that XL, and although they did fall in Forge of Champions, it was a revitalized roster.
They were the best team that's in this tournament. In the promotion relegation bracket, 4 teams, Barrage did the best. Both of the open teams, all of the open teams got beaten in the first round. And what is interesting here is, if you watch back those games, DegreeSports were pretty underwhelming. I think it's fair to say. They didn't have the best performances. They didn't look bad, but you look at teams like Retirement Home, who took Diabolus, who went on to be in the finals, took them to a very close 2-0. Yes, they lost 2 games, but they looked good. There were chances for them. You look at Bulldog, again, they look pretty solid. They've got some veterans on their lineup. DegreeSports they weren't the best advert for the university scene.
So you've obviously casted, if anyone doesn't know, Will's casted quite a bit of the university scene.
I have.
So sell me on DegreeSports. Why are they a team to watch and why will they perform well here?
They dominated the university scene for years. I think it's fair to say. You can look at teams in the university scene. It's always a case of there'll be one university each year that will dominate in a certain game. So Aston dominated for League of Legends for a long time. You've got places like Warwick. Exeter their university team for League of Legends has just been so good for such a long time. They've always been up there fighting, and they've always been up there performing very well. NSE came along as well, and now you've got 2 university tournaments. They just dominated both. There was a lot of the other teams were chopping and changing, so you have universities like Birmingham, shout out, who did very well in NSE, not so well in Newell. You've got other universities that do very well in Newell, not so well in NSE. Exeter just dominated both.
Yeah.
And these players, it's not their entire roster from Exeter because they've had some changes in the bot lane, they've had changes in the mid. We're going to see those rosters in a minute, but they just looked so good. And I think it would be a massive mistake for anyone to underestimate them just because they've come from university, because Kerberos just came from university.
I mean, a lot of players have come from university, and a lot of players have played in university. I know the likes of Yusa Nolte and M&M have played in the university leagues, and I think a lot of people did underestimate them coming to the promotion tournament, and they proved they were the strongest team yesterday. Yeah. They finished with the best result and were the first to go through to today's games. We do have the rosters for you, so you can take a quick look at them. It's Barrage versus DegreeSports. So on Barrage, we have Icebreaker in the top lane, Monkeys in the jungle, D.Va mid lane, KDO, AD carry, and fast leg support.
And then university scene DegreeSports have got Noam Watley in the top lane, Lee Brothers in the jungle, Handsome mid, with Blue Spirits and Longstaff filling out their roster on the bot side.
Yeah, so both these teams had some significant changes. Barrage, not so much since Forge Champions. Those changes were between the UKLC split. And then obviously you were talking about the bot lane changes for DegreeSports.
Yeah, they had a different bot lane looking for NSC, and then they came into that Forge Champions. The bot lane looked similar to the rest of the team, to be honest. They didn't look all that exciting. They'd already made a change mid coming into the tournament. But they obviously decided to go in a different direction. And as we saw in some of those replays and watched through the games, Blue Spirits especially and Longstaff, they looked really strong. I'm really excited to see how they do as we jump in to picks and bans.
Yeah, so getting things started, and at least instantly banned away from Monkeys. And to me, I feel like Monkeys has very much always been this sort of team player who will facilitate his lanes quite heavily. Shutting him down for picking up something like Elise, which can have so much proactivity in the levels, obviously a massive objective to do. And then one of the big unfortunate things, although Noam Watley does have a very different champion pool, which can be beneficial because it throws you off guard, not the sort of person I expect to play Pantheon, so being forced to ban that on blue side.
Yeah, taking that away, which usually that's a red side ban because it's such a strong pick. We've seen it at Worlds.
100% presence.
It's just so strong. And it can be so flexible in a lot of different positions. So you forced to ban that away. You hate to see it. Yumi, Syndra, and Zarya being taken away. Zarya is actually a very interesting ban. One of the 3 traditional marksmen that we tend to see?
2 best. I'd say the 2 best at the moment are Zarya and Kai'Sa. This would honestly suggest DegreeSports might go for a Kai'Sa first pick if Barrage are willing to leave it open. So could be up in the air. Is there something else I'd rather take away from DegreeSports? Especially, I know a lot of people have had issues with particular picks from Watley's pool, but they will match that. So these 2 AD carries we see so much play from, neither of them will be on the table. They'll have to go in a bit of a different direction, and Rye is going to very quickly be picked up. A bit of a sleeper OP pick. A lot of people were talking coming into Worlds. This is one of the first Worlds in a while where Rise isn't broken. Breaking news, he still is. You saw Doinbjorn have some massive performances, and I feel like he's still a very consistent damage dealer. If anything, he's better at dealing damage in team fights. A little bit less safe because you don't get that shield from your passive. A little bit less bulky and easier to take down, but a massive DPS carry similar to sort of Cassiopeia. And speaking of Cassiopeia, the age-old counter will be picked up. Shout out to Viperoon.
There's a little story. Whenever we do sound tests or we do game tests, I always pick Cassiopeia with Desperado skin. Because Riot, they gave me Cassiopeia as a free champ when I was a good summoner many years ago. And then they consistently give me Cassiopeia skins for no reason. I never play her, but it's a snake. So we're going to have to see what they decide to take alongside that snaky woman. Team of Horror, I don't expect it to be that. It will be Nautilus. Very standard pick. Fast-legged. We know he likes this champion.
Yeah, well, we know he's pretty hypey on playing these aggressive, engaged champions. I feel like out of all them, Nautilus is at the top. I guess you can make arguments for things like Thresh in certain situations where you want the utility of the Lantern, but Nautilus has been an absolute menace that CC offers, and particularly when you think of the 80 carries now available, Xayah and Kai'Sa both have a lot of strengths because of their safety. You have the invisibility available with Kai'Sa, the mobility with her ult, and a supercharge. And Nautilus can lock a lot of 80 carries down. Even a Caitlyn, although she has the net, you're limited beyond that. So if the Nautilus does ult you, very easy to take you out of a fight. But DegreeSports, they'll go for that Caitlyn, a lot of the laning power. And we could well see them match up here with the support, potentially Morgana, which we've seen it as such a strong lane, the Caitlyn Morgan. When you know you're up against a Nautilus, you can be pretty confident picking that, and the question is going to be, what will Barrage answer with? Because that's a difficult lane to go up against.
Yeah, we've got stuff like the Ezreal, which we've seen quite a lot of. The Ashe is a very aggressive pick, but as you say, Xayah and Kai'Sa, they've had this lane on lock for such a long time. It's the Varus actually being locked in. Could we see that being flexed mid, or do we think that's going to KDA?
I'm almost certain that's going to KDO. I think the Varus, it's a decent matchup in the Caitlyn because the range disparity isn't as high as some other ones like a Lucian. Your shove's actually pretty good. Early levels, you can actually go toe-to-toe with the Caitlyn and shoving power because of your hail of arrows. And then when you hit 6, the kill pressure is insane. You may be thinking to have a Black Shield. Black Shield only covers one of you. You have the Varus ult, you have the Nautilus ult. It's super vulnerable. So even though you have to go into Caitlyn Morg, which pre-6 is one of the stronger lanes in the game.
100%.
You have that way out at level 6, or at least you can set up a gank. But we now go into our second rotation of bans. Olaf being taken away from DegreeSports, away from Lee Brothers. And then it's going to be Akali, which is something D.Va has had some massive performances on. It also suggests that they are not convinced that it's going to be the Cassiopeia mid.
I really, really like this from DegreeSports. They've left open Noah Mortley and Lee Brothers, who are Noah Mortley. People make jokes about his champ pool because it's wide and it's eclectic. Lee Brothers, we've seen him playing some champions that are a bit off meta, a bit strange, of course. Ivan being taken away, we saw him on that. We saw him on the Xin Zhao in the Forge Champions. Could we see something like that coming back here today?
Well, the big thing is we've seen the Rek'Sai come out from Monkeys, so irrespective of what Lee Brothers picks, I feel like this is a pretty good answer in the early levels to set up your lanes. And the major thing for me is that we know Noam Watley likes to play tanks, things like the Mundo, the Ornn. He's now going up against a Varus and a Cassiopeia, both of which really high DPS and capable of dealing with tanks. So even if he goes towards his typical champion pool, which you expect, there is champions on Barrage's side to deal with that. We see the Gragas come in with Lee Brothers, so something that does have power at level 3 to go toe-to-toe with the Rek'Sai, but scales very well into those team fight points. You go full AP, you have that massive amount of damage.
There it is.
Watley special going for the Tom Kench top lane.
I love to see this, honestly. The way he plays Tom Kench is, it's pretty brutal, honestly. He'll do a decent amount of damage. He will look to fight the top laners, and he is going to be such a bulky character. Yes, you have Cassiopeia and Varus who are good at dealing with tanks, but you don't want your damage going onto this big, fat catfish. You want it going onto the Caitlyn, onto the Ryze. And if you're forced to spend 3, 4, 5 seconds killing their top laner, but Kayle is being locked in.
Yeah, even more DPS. So we don't know 100% whether it's going to be Kayle mid or Kayle top. That will be decided in a couple of seconds. The thing with the Kayle is, I feel like into the Tahm Kench, you have to play with a lot of respect in the levels. But once you hit 6, you're just going to be able to blow through waves, not much you can do in response, and then it's the ultimate that you offer to the rest of the team. Not only does Kayle have an insane amount of DPS, and fair burst, to be honest, but you offer that ultimate to your team, and the thing with DegreeSports, the way I like to play, we saw that in those highlight packages earlier. They have a lot of emphasis on team fight, especially when your top lane is a tank player. It's typical that you look for big team fights to find your team, but you're going up against a ton of CC from Barrage that they've drafted for themselves, and also those backline carries that you'd love to have access on are now going to have some protection from the Kayle.
And it's going to be really, really hard to team fight this Barrage lineup. Cassiopeia ult, Kayle ult, Nautilus ult. Varus ult in a pinch for disengage.
Yeah,
it's going to be really, really hard for them to go in, get that fight that they really want. And we know that the DegreeSports love their team fights. So it could be difficult, but I want to see Fat Abyssal Voyage right into the back line. Takes on with you.
Potentially,
get in the mix.
But against the Cassiopeia, if you Abyssal Voyage into a Miasma or the Realm Warp as well.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah, I think the big thing for me, though, is that they have a lot of global ultimates. They could transition this effectively into a 1-3-1 composition. Obviously, Barrage have drafted a composition where they would love to 5v5. And they do have answers to the 1-3-1, but using the power of those ultimates, they could rotate to find advantages for themselves. The big thing to watch for me is the mid-jungle matchup. I feel like Rek'Sai is going to have more advantages in the early levels than a Gragas, but once you have access to that Predator, if you can help the Ryze get priority, which in the early levels he should have, and then you can rotate him, you're in a great position because bringing those two to bot lane or even to top lane to push the Kayle off the wave puts you in a really good spot for the mid game.
Absolutely, and I think objectives control is going to be super huge for DegreeSports. They've got the tools to get around to objectives very quickly. They've got the tools to push side waves and then Ryze, Tahm Kench, let's go to Baron, let's go to Dragon, let's get these done. So at level 6, they should be picking up most of these objectives.
Yeah, and I think the big thing is if you get a lead in your bot lane, if you can get this Caitlyn ahead, once you set up an objective, it's very hard to move in on top of it. With the Gragas as well, you can set the barrels up, you can set the traps up. So difficult to move in and try and find aggression. So I feel like for me, DegreeSports have put themselves in a position where they should be the ones taking the pace of the game.
Yeah.
However, the one thing that could throw a spanner in the works is Monkiz on this Rek'Sai. If he has one of his great performances that we have seen from him historically, he could definitely put a spanner in the works. But if he just has a non-impactful early game, I feel like DegreeSports should have advantages across the board. They're going to have more aggression in the top lane because Kayle being a melee champion against a Tahm Kench is going to struggle. You're just going to be gated by her cooldowns where you're trying to pick up farm. Mid lane, the Ryze, although Cassiopeia is a counter, I feel like in the early levels he has more shoving power. And then in the bot lane, Caitlyn Morg, it's a no-brainer.
That one, it wins every matchup. It's super good. I've played against it a few times in low elo, I must add. But I hate it. It's so much pushing power, so much ranged aggression, and there's not all that much you can do about it, especially for the Nautilus. You need to be posturing aggressively to get those plays, but if you do that too long, you're just going to be melted down. Yeah,
you're going to be banded, you're going to be beaten up. And the thing is with the Black Shield is that Nautilus is pretty telegraphed with his engage. You know, you throw the hook out, there is a bit of delay before it connects. You can very easily Black Shield that and then the follow-up is in there. It's different once you're 6 and you have more tools available, or if you bring a gank in. But in an isolated 2v2, you do not want to be playing against Caitlyn Morg. So I guess it comes down to, will Monkiz be able to find his way around the map, find the access?
I hope so. Remember, he was the MVP of the Spring Split when he was on Dabless.
Yeah.
And now he's in this relegation battle. He didn't look the same player at points in summer, but we know that there's a very good player down there. We've seen him in this Forge of Champions, and we see him in the VODs there. He's playing near to where he was. He's playing very, very well.
And I think the thing I would say about Monkiz is, to me, he's always been a player that will make his teammates shine even more.
Yes.
And I think that was the issue coming onto the Barrage roster, is that they constantly were rotating new players in, they weren't fitting together, they weren't clicking. And I feel like that's the worst team environment for a player like Monkiz, because he wants someone that he knows he can rely on, he can know that they can facilitate. And I feel like in this roster at the moment, the person they've kept for all this time that I feel like he can rely on the most is D.Va in this mid lane. He's really looked good on a range of champions. And right now in this Cassiopeia, especially into the Ryze matchup, although I said it doesn't have the greatest priority early, once you get a bit of mana behind you, a bit of damage, I expect him to pop off.
Yeah, and we are on to the Rift, ladies and gentlemen, for the first game of the day. It is going to be DegreeSports taking on Barrage. And we're going to have to see which one of these two teams can stay a claim in this best-of-3 series moving forward. You want to get that top-side bracket. You want to get that free win in the all-important finals. And we're on to the Spooky Summoner's Rift. Oh, look at the skin. That is very handsome. Oi, oi. As the new Ryze skin is oh, he hasn't got items.
Oh, no.
Well, that's less handsome, Ryze. That's... Oh.
There's still time. There's still time. He has TP. Will he notice?
As an observer, right, okay, what I did is when Fastleg did this, also kudos shout to Fastleg, you bought items, I'm proud of you. I followed him around on the Nautilus, zoomed fully in for about 2.5 minutes until he recalled.
Yep.
But he hasn't noticed yet, has he? I hope he does. I hope he gets there, because...
I mean, surely, I guess the point you have to notice is when you go for a trade and then you try and use a potion and you realize
it's not there. Yeah. That's unfortunate, but he still hasn't noticed that.
I mean, I feel like if you were doing this, you'd want to pick up a Sapphire Crystal anyway. But I was like, maybe he's going for the Super Saver. He's going to recall with 850 gold, buy a tier, and then be back in lane.
No, I'm Watley putting down the hut immediately. We won't be able to get a stun because he used that initially, but that's a decent chunk of Icebreaker's health. And the stun as well. He's trying to set up a lot of damage onto Icebreaker, forced away. Kayle pre-6 is going to have a really, really rough time. Ryze still going itemless.
Yeah, I feel like if I was in his position at this point, I mean, I'm assuming he's noticed, I would just say, right, I'm itemless. I'm not going to recall until I've got enough for a tier. I'll wait till that point, and then I can TP back in. Definitely a rough start, but honestly, he hasn't been punished so far by D.Va. the big talking point I want to mention is that typically I would expect Rise, once he hits the level 2 point, be able to shove in a Cassiopeia. He has more shoving power available to him. For a Cassiopeia to do it, it costs a ton of mana. But the fact that he doesn't have any items might actually cause an issue there because he's missing some of that mana pool he would typically use to shove. Yeah,
and it's going to be crucial. Losing out to Cassiopeia in these early levels just because of the item disparity, that's going to really, really hurt Rise going forward into this late game where maybe he does take a lot of damage. A lot of engage going down here, a lot of damage coming onto KDO. He's forced to flash away the Ignite, burning him down, but now Fastleg is in the wrong neighborhood. Libra is coming in from the side as well. KDO looking to get some damage on the back as we do see Monk is in the area as well. No kills just yet, but a lot of damage going on to KDO.
Yeah, a little bit of a misexecution on the trap from Blue Spirit. So he threw a trap down before the binding connected, and then he tried to recover it by putting a trap behind him. It basically allowed KDO to flash away. Bit unfortunate because that definitely could have been a kill there, but either way, they do get the flash from the Varus, which is a massive hit this early in the game, especially when Lee Brothers is putting some attention down in the bot lane.
Yeah, opens up for just more ganks. And you don't have to gank top right now because Noam Watley, he's just putting the pain down onto Icebreaker, who is being forced away every time he steps up.
Yeah, and right now the wave is pushing in, and as a top lane in this situation, you want to be able to shove it in so it can bounce back. But that means Watley's going to be able to walk up and challenge you. And the thing is, yes, you have a minion wave on your side. He's just ignoring it.
He's got the same farm as Kayle, even though he's dominating this lane, because he keeps just spending time punching her rather than the minions.
The thing is as well is he has this massive wave built up. And so now if he finds an ability with his next wave coming in to freeze this, Icebreaker's going to be in a really rough position in this lane. Going to TP back in, but you do not want to be this overextended on a champion like Kayle, especially when you know there's potential setup. Lee Brothers is in the area with Predator.
Icebreaker, you got to be careful. The flash comes through from Noam Watley. Icebreaker's going to have to be very, very careful here. Does manage to flash away, so flash trade in the top lane. But it's just a bit of disrespect from the Kayle teleporting in that far forward. Rise, as you can see, has got that Tear of the Goddess now.
I will say, honestly, it's a rough situation to be in as a Kayle. You need to shove that wave in because look at the state of the game now. So I understand and moving forwards. My concern, however, though, is Watley just flashed way too early. Lee Brothers wasn't even close to being in range, and as a result, it's just a trade of flashes, when honestly, it should have been much more favorable for DegreeSports, but now he's looking for the Kayle, but Monk is here.
Gets the stun, but Monk is around. He's going to get the knock-up. He is able. Noam Watley, of course, no flash, and that's First Blood. Icebreaker. That wasn't in the script.
Yeah, Watley just completely over-aggressive there. Didn't get a chance to use his great health, and just disrespectful is all I can say.
That's some more disrespect. Killing steps up. Blue Spirit's going very, very low. The Ignite will tick down, and Fastleg picks up the second kill of the game. Quick succession. Barrage, they're coming out the gates early.
And this really shouldn't be happening. I mean, credit to Monkus for setting up that play in the top lane, but bot lane 2v2, this was disrespect again. Blue Spirits and Longstaff walking up without the Black Shield available. It gives a window for Fastleg to engage, and Blue Spirits just caught off guard. Didn't even have time to use the flash. He was already burning too low by that point.
And it's just, you can't step up against the Nautilus that far up. You just shouldn't be in that position. Now, they've lost the push in the bot lane. They're going to get a free recall, KDO and Fastleg. And in the top side, giving a Kayle a kill this early on when you're meant to be bullying her, that's really, really rough.
That's the thing with this matchup, is that you play the Tom Ken so you can crush early, and that's especially true against the likes of a Kayle, which is a champion you have to take advantage of 3-6. And because Watley died, you can see the wave was able to be shoved in, and now it's pushing back towards Icebreaker. So Icebreaker is in a pretty comfortable position here. He doesn't have to overextend. The only concern would be a dive coming out, but Lee Brothers is nowhere near. So Icebreaker should freely just be able to pick this farm up under tower. And when we saw Watley trying to dominate that lane so hard in the early levels, it's completely turned around.
And as soon as Kayle hits 6, the story becomes completely different. She's much more able to poke, she can farm much more freely, and Watley has to extend even further to get that aggression and bully this Kayle. So that's going to be really, really problematic for him. We're now seeing junglers, they're looking towards the bot side, but Fastlegged, he's walking towards mid. Handsome might be in trouble here. Monkus looks for the slow, but the flash is going to be quick from Handsome. He's not messing around, just get out of that one. But they can come back again.
Had to expect the flash knockup coming out from Monkus, so flashed early to negate that. But at the end of the day, you got the flash from Handsome, you got the flash from the Rise, that's all you wanted. And I'm happy to see Monkus and Fastleg moving together as a duo, because it's so effective. When it's just a jungler ganking, obviously there's potential for turnaround, there's potential to escape it. When it's both support and the jungler, you can't take any risk. Handsome instantly had to flash out of that one. And all in all, it was a great timing for the roam. because KDO hasn't missed much. The wave was pushed up. It was going to end up naturally pushing towards KDO, so he was happy just to sit back and allow his support to roam. Hans trying to go for the steal there, but Monkus will just smite it up. A good ward coverage, honestly, on the bot side of the map coming out from DegreeSports. They want to keep that up because that dragon is an Infernal. Massively high priority, but Engage coming in.
Nice hook onto Blue Spirits. They're already about half health. Might be stunned up by KDO, but it's going to be the Morgana going down first, with Varus picking up the third kill for Barrage Esports. Lee Brothers comes in, not able to do too much, because you can see the Cassia from Rek'Sai. They were both trying to join the party as well.
And this is the power. Once you hit that point where you have a level 6 available, the Black Shield just isn't enough to deal with the CC at this lane. Blue Spirits and Longstaff, they gave away a small advantage, and now it's cost them huge. Lee Brothers not willing to give up this Infernal yet, though.
I think this is a brave contest, and they're going to engage it directly onto the Gragas, forced to flash away. The ultimate comes out from Nautilus, but he's going to be knocked into the back. Blue Spirits flashing away, looking for the auto attack, but Faster gets away. Sliver of health as does Blue Spirit. Here comes the snipe. KDO's going to block it for his support, but this dragon is taking people low, and Handsom's on the back as well. D.Va will not get the steal. It's secured by KDO, and Barrage, they get out with everything they wanted.
Could have been very close. A lot of low HP bars, particularly Fast-Legged and Blue Spirits, but at the end of the day, no more players go down. Barrage secure the Infernal Dragon with a 2k gold lead. They're in a great spot so far in this game, and we talked heavily about how it came down to can Monkus facilitate his team in the early game. Oh!
American Sniper, over 200 confirmed kills.
2 so far this game.
Yeah. That is such good aggressive play, but again, just disrespect. You cannot be in lane on that much health. Yes, you know that they were a dragon, so you've got to have guessed their back, but go back if you're on that much health, because 1 Q was all it took.
I think the talking point so far this game for DegreeSports has been disrespect.
Yeah.
I feel like they just haven't expected Barrage to come out with so much fight, and clearly this means a lot to the Barrage players. They want to earn their spot back in the UKLC, and they've come out swinging so far. And a lot of the talking points for me was that you could have Handsome move from lane with the extra pushing power of the Rise, but at this point, D.Va's got to come from mana pool to go toe-to-toe. Bot lane is crushing. KDO already has a Blade of the Moon King. And top lane, Icebreaker, we said they should be rough in the early levels. He's past the level 6 point. He's feeling comfortable.
Yeah, gold will be about parity in that top lane, and this is worrying for the university scene at large. We came into this saying, people were saying the university scene is not as strong as other methods of entry. And right now, DegreeSports, they're being beaten up. Admittedly, Barrage, they are the favorites, I think it's fair to say, to qualify after that really good Forge of Champions showing. But they've just looked absolutely dominant in pretty much every aspect of this game.
Yeah, and I think, especially when I consider that DegreeSports set them up to have priority across the board, it is just an outskill coming out from the likes of Barrage. Particularly in the bot lane, I think I have to put huge emphasis on. KDO and Fast-Legged have played the lane extremely well. And now, looks like they're moving their attention towards that top side of the map for that Rift Herald. DegreeSports have instead just gone, we're going to put as much damage down on the turret in return, and now D.Va is potentially looking for a dive here. Kale might make this tricky, but not impossible.
They saw him on a ward. Icebreaker is looking to get away. The ultimate from Kale already coming out.
Misses.
That is hard. It's hard to watch. We do see the Rift Herald being used instantly top. They're going to look to trade this one down. Noam Watley, he's not going to be able to do anything about this.
But I mean, honestly, there's not that big a wave left. Watley is a hard dive. Looks like they might go for it.
And it is the hard dive. They're going to use ultimates. They're going to get the health down, and they're going to take him out. KDO picks up his third kill of the game as Icebreaker. He's going to be roosted up on the tower. He might actually be in trouble here. The Ignite comes down. Stopwatch will be used by both members, and Blue Spirits will pick up the first kill for DegreeSports. He has to come out to save Lee Brothers, but D.Va is going to be able to pick up that one as Blue Spirits is going to be chased away by the Snake. One more auto will do it. It will be enough. Double kill for D.Va, and Barrage are running riot.
Barrage are winning huge here. They keep the push going top. They're able to dive the Tom Kench, and then D.Va TP's bot and turns that fight around. They are winning on all fronts, and honestly just crushing this matchup right now.
It's a bit embarrassing if you look at predictions, Orcs, because I had a look at them, and we both predicted DegreeSports to win this matchup.
I just flip a coin, honestly, at this point.
Whereas Mr. Hitbrain and Mr. Twitter both predicted Barrage, so he's going to be feeling good about this one at home. We're going to see the Realm Warp being used as they look for Fast-Legged, who's going to be able to just anchor himself out. No kind of follow-up, and that's an ultimate being used, and it didn't gain anything.
Yeah, didn't gain much, and that's a long cooldown on that Rise ultimate. We've expected to see Handsome. They prioritized this Rise extremely heavily. It was their first pick. We wanted to see it rotate around the map, and of course it's still going to scale extremely well, but you're up against a Cassiopeia and a Kayle. I don't think scaling is on your side. And so far, he's just sat mid lane and not had an impact. Even D.Va, who's had a quiet game, finally pulled off a roam with that TP play bot and picked up 2 kills for it. And despite that, he's still up in farm. It's just really, there is no member of DegreeSports right now who I can say has had a positive game, and it's just a massive turning point from yesterday where they were the dominant force and proved that they look like the strongest team coming out of those 4 who are trying to fight for their way to get into the UKLC. But right now, Barrage, out of the 4 remaining, are looking extremely strong.
They are looking very good. They're going into the jungle with Abandon, and Fastleg is actually a player who hasn't impressed me hugely in the summer split, but looking at him in Forge Champions and looking at him now, seems like a completely different player.
Absolutely. I feel like he's working so well with Monkeys. Monkeys being a veteran player, he's working with his experience, his knowledge about the game, when to be aggressive, and you constantly see this pairing that we're seeing right now, this team up where they're moving together, and so Lee Brothers can't contest because he knows it's not just going to be Monkeys, Fastleg's there as well, and with that much CC, that much damage, there's no chance to compete with him.
And now this dragon is just going to go away for free. Longstaff is there, but he's not going to be able to contest this without a miracle. And of course, he's the Dark Angel, so he's not going to get one of those. It's going to be taken away by the Rek'Sai. That's the Mountain Drake being taken over. And that's good Drake RNG as well. Ocean coming up third. Barrage, they're just taking every single thing on the map.
Oh, but Monkeys could be in trouble here.
Might have overextended, though. Is going to be able to bar away. Does have another tunnel out into that Dragon Pit. It's so hard to catch out of Rek'Sai when these tunnels are set
But it was possible. I mean, Lee Brothers had flash and all. You definitely could have gone for that play, but
Icebreaker might be in trouble. Narms Wally is 2 levels higher. Will eat the ult in Kayle. He doesn't care. Spits her out and is looking for more. Will be able to pick up that kill. Second kill for DegreeSports, but on the bot side, they are pinned under their tower, and it looks like a dive could be being set up.
comes down to can land a binding. Goes quite wide there. Lee Brothers Predator. Looks like they aren't willing to commit for this. Handsome move down. And in reaction, in response, D.Va and Monkeys instantly head back towards mid lane. They're going to have it routed, so now Handsome has to take a safer route. Means they'll have priority. Monkeys can threaten him. See how Handsome is forced to take such a long route back to defend his tower, and now allows D.Va to get some damage down on the mid lane tier 1.
And it's just taking advantage wherever they can for Barrage. Yes, you lost your top laner to Noam Watley, and he's going to be taking the Abyssal Moij, looking towards mid. Going to jump directly onto Monkeys and D.Va, but won't be able to get too much more, and is going to be forced away. That's another ultimate that was kind of used with no real end product. You did manage to save the tower some damage, but other than that, it's a reasonably big cooldown.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's not the most impactful ultimate to be down, but at the end of the day, you did invest that. You didn't really get much of it.
Dive.
And now they're looking bot lane.
Is in the offing. Longstaff might be in trouble. Looks for the stairs. Monkeys on the back, straight onto Blue Spirits. He's going to be going down with the ultimate, but Monkeys will be traded 1-for-1. The igniting down means Longstaff gets that one, and here comes the teleport from Tom Ketchers. The battle of the sea as he's going straight onto Fastleg. KDO taking a lot of damage there. He's going to be taken down. The Catfish as Lee Brothers is trading 1-for-1 across the board as D.Va looks for more. Noam Watley is a big fish, but will go down. Double kill for Cassiopeia once again, and that is a 3-for-2.
And it's a worst case scenario. D.Va picking up even more kills. You can see the nerfs. Coming in from Handsome.
The Realm Warp. Doesn't want to take it though, as he's going to look for Icebreaker, but I don't even know if he wins this fight. Icebreaker is going pretty low, but Handsome has actually got some damage on him at this point. Here comes the ult from Caitlyn off screen for the kill, and that's the power of the Caitlyn.
And honestly, Icebreaker, he's had a very good 4G champions, but here on this Kayle, he's just looked out of sorts, and it is a typical thing when you're going up against Watley. You're not expecting to play against a Tom Kent. It can definitely catch you off guard, but really underwhelming so far. I think the only player on the side of Braz who just hasn't looked on form so far this game, but he is playing a Kayle. Irrespective of what happens in the early levels, he's going to scale up to be a monster, and critically, even if he's not dishing out the damage, his ult will protect the likes of, say, D.Va, who is putting out so much right now. Just picked up that Rylai's great 2-item spike, and you can see how much damage was being done to Watley in that last team fight. And a big pivotal thing is the fact that Tom Kench got nerfs to the health that he gets, the grey health that he's able to pick up because of his prevalence in the support role, and that has hit the top lane Tom Kench pretty hard. You can see the grey health shield is just so much smaller. You normally expect it to be a full HP bar with
just nowhere near.
Not even comparable, and it means that Watley on this Tom Kent, you expect to be almost unkillable at this point, is honestly going down pretty easily. And I think my big note was in that top lane dive they pulled off on him. I really just thought it would be harder to pull off, but Tom Kent not looking too strong.
Longstaff, you don't want to be in this neighborhood, but they're backing away. Barrage, you've got this. It's just the Morgana support. But they decide just go for the vision instead. That bush is lit up like a Christmas tree.
And the pink ward does get moved, so they have got a bit more coverage. But I think they had to respect the black shield from Longstaff, meant that they weren't really going to offer anything in return in terms of an engage. But Monkeys and Fast like again pairing up just to apply this pressure. And Icebreaker has got TP if they need to bring him in. But the main focal point is allowing D.Va to have an isolated 1v1, stopping anyone to rotate over. And he's just happy to shove him, but TP now coming in.
No, and Watley does force the flash out of Fast Leg. He's going to be able to get into Dragon Pit, but this time you do get a summoner for your ult.
And that's what I want to see. We talked about this coming into the champion select. You're picking Ryze, you're picking the Tahm Kench. You have a really strong mid lane trio with the Caitlyn, Morgan, the Gragas. You want to set up a 1-3-1 and then use those ults to rotate and find picks. And they are starting to implement that. Barrage, 5,000 gold ahead. 2 dragons up, they're in a great position, but if the game keeps going at this pace and starts to slow down, there is potential for DegreeSports to get back into it if they keep looking for these rotations, these picks.
And the picks they've got in terms of champions aren't bad in the late game. Of course, you look at Kayle and go, well, they've got Kayle late game, they've got Cassiopeia late game. But Ryze in the late game, if you've been watching Worlds, you know this guy's a monster. And I think the DegreeSports could make a claim for it if they manage to slow this game down and stop the Barrage snowball that was very much rolling down that hill in the early levels.
Absolutely. Third Drake likely going to go straight over to Barrage. Notion, not the highest priority at this point in the game, but more to stack up for that Elder Dragon potentially later on. Obviously, we've talked about both teams have a pretty strong element of scaling, but right now, scaling is not going to be in place. It's Handsome potentially going down.
Gets grounded, so he's not going to be able to take that Realm Warp and will be taken out instantly by D.Va. Very, very simple. Handsome, you knew they were at Dragon. Maybe be a bit further back, but Lee Brothers goes in with the spell shield. Doesn't manage to get anything onto KDO, who's going to also miss his ultimate. Longstaff goes in, looks for the tether onto 2. We'll only find it on 1, but that's enough to grab the kill onto Fast Leg. Tower does go down in the bot lane, but DegreeSports managed to get themselves a kill.
Yeah, good response play, but at the end of the day, you lose a kill and a tower for that one. So I'm not going to call it worth. D.Va and Monkeys have complete control of this bot side jungle. There's a couple of wards, but no one can set foot there. And honestly, KDO happy to just go toe-to-toe with 2 members for DegreeSports, but Watley, he's still finding success in this split push. So we said, yes, it's going to have advantage in the early levels against the Kayle, but I feel like there just isn't the damage available for Icebreaker to even start to threaten Watley. And yes, you're playing a tank Tahm Kench, but there is the damage there to all in a Kayle. So right now, Icebreaker's just having to sit back and hopefully pick up waves.
I love Watley's build right now. He's got a lot of crystals.
He's going for the healthy build.
He's got some rubies, but he is going to have a lot of health. Handsome down there pushing the bot lane. Has managed to hit that 2-item power spike right now with the Roa and the Seraphs, so...
But not quite stacked.
Not quite stacked yet, but he's going to be hitting like a truck very, very soon.
Yeah, but the issue is, dealing with a team composition like this, Ryze is short-ranged. He's easier to kill than he was before. Obviously, he lost the shield in his passive when they changed him with his 17th Ryze rework. Up against a composition like this with so much CC, it's difficult to see how much presence he's going to be able to have. It's relying on his team, the team fighting off the rest of his roster to give him space to get the damage out. So it's not just critical on him being able to put out the damage, it's being given the space. And right now, Barrage, they picked up that dragon, they're starting to put attention to the top side. They've switched their side lanes completely because Baron is now the objective on the card. And with a Mountain and Infernal in the pocket, with champions like a Rage Blade, Blade of the Ruined King Varus, and a Cassiopeia, it would be a very quick Baron if they got the chance to go for it.
And Kayle off in the side lane, just going to be clearing out, and of course teleport on your side lane as well. Super crucial. You can get people into Baron very, very quickly. And one thing that's quite interesting to note is the Ocean Drake is super, super nice in situations like this, where you're sitting around Baron, where you're trying to get these maybe shorter pushes. You're not necessarily looking to siege down, but it's to clear out and make sure that you've got Baron priority. The Ocean Drake's going to be keeping you there much longer than your opponents.
Oh, Monkeys has found one.
He has found one to Lee Brothers and going to get a lot of damage down. That's going to be an instant kill.
Oh,
and
no,
now they're
Watley.
going to have trouble. Watley, don't teleport in there. Don't go in there, Watley. The ult's going to come down onto the Longstaff as Watley is going to be forced away. The teleport comes through, but Monkeys dives in for the kill. And now Barrage, they've used their teleports. They're going for Baron.
And Lee Brother just walks into Monkeys, gets caught out, and then Watley dies too, and now feels like there's no contest going to come in for the Baron. We said DegreeSports had a win condition. That was not it.
No, that's not how you win the game. It's going to be taken down. 5 members of Barrage do have that Baron buff. They're going to get a tower for it mid, but it might cost them. Icebreaker flash forward.
Icebreaker?
He doesn't want to take that much damage from Blue Spirit this early on into this little skirmish. Couple more auto attacks, and that'll be enough, but Icebreaker uses the ultimate. Blue Spirits might have overextended to try and get this kill. The perfect bait will end in a 1-for-1 as Longstaffs will likely fall. It's going to be picked up by D.Va on this Cassiopeia. Once again, Handsome runs for the win. Barrage, they're going to take this one if they continue playing like this.
And the DegreeSports keep playing like that. Not sure about that play. Not exactly convinced, but in the end, they're going to try and defend this tower, but Fastleg is looking for the flank.
He is looking for it and will get it onto Noam Watley, but he is pretty tanky at this point. Handsome puts down a decent amount of damage onto that Nautilus and is going to do enough to make sure Barrage decide that they're better to reset, better not push anything further as they're going to move up into that mid lane. But DegreeSports, they did manage to get the Baron buff off Kale. So, I mean,
it's something.
They got that.
But of all the members to kill, I feel like Kale definitely probably the lowest priority. I guess maybe you can make an argument Fastleg is a little bit lower, but everyone else, you've got the big bounties mid-jungle, you have a massive amount of damage available with KDO. Taking Kale off the map, not going to impact Barrage too much, but 2 minutes and a half still left in this Baron. All the outer towers already taken down. And normally for me, first Baron into getting just the towers outside the base is a pretty good sort of transition. But Barrage still have 2 minutes left. They have so much potential to break the base here. They're now just picking up some buffs, resetting for the items. They're going to push out on the map, but DegreeSports, they're looking for potentially a pick here.
They are looking for
But I feel like you don't need to contest this. You can just go straight and push down mid, and that's exactly what Barrage is going to do. So yes, DegreeSports has some alone time with the Ocean Drake, but it'll be at the cost of their base.
I don't even know if they're going to be able to do the Ocean Drake because they're going to start losing and start hemorrhaging objectives in the mid lane. That's how it's going to be taken down super, super quickly. Libro's looking for a flank, but he's all alone except for Blue Spirits, who's pretty far behind him. Here comes the Abyssal Voyage from Tom Ketch, but he, again, is all alone. The fight might well kick off as members of DegreeSports do start to turn up. But Barrage, they're having to take the tower and leave, and that was pretty much for free because they set up a Death Rush, which did need to step in.
Yeah, they just did need to step in. Maybe if it was a higher priority Drake, but even then, the call probably would still have been made to push mid. But now, Watley's in trouble.
He is, and he's very stanky still, but he's not going to be able to survive. We see Monk is going golden, but the Tom Ketch will still be
the ult huge.
That's massive, as we see KDO and D.Va just ripping through members of the DegreeSports. Longstaff's the last person there. He's going to go down, and Barrage will pick up the first game in this best of 3. DegreeSports are left floundering.
And just a convincing win coming down. At every point, they look like they're ahead. We said Monkeys need to be the one to make the big plays. And yes, he was a catalyst, but he was not the only point. KDO and Fastleg looked monstrous in the bot lane. And now D.Va, the person we wanted to highlight for just stepping up on this team. Monstrous performance, 9-0 on Cassiopeia.
Fastleg just entered though, so we take it all back. Barrage, poor performance.
Huge plays coming out from then, and honestly, it just looked one-sided. I think, for me, there were a lot of issues. I think there was disrespect in the bot lane. I think Watley on the Tom Kench. I think since those nerfs to the shield, it honestly just didn't feel viable. And it was clear that Barrage expected him to play a tank top because they drafted a composition that just completely shut down any potential of him surviving for more than a couple of seconds in teamfights, which you saw at the end. He got caught out, Abyssal Boys in, blown up just almost instantly.
And it was every single fight was basically the story of Watley goes in, oh wait, I'm not actually that tanky, or oh wait, you do a lot of damage. And he was just melted down. And by that point, it was a case of, well, we can melt down Watley, and we haven't expended anything. We're just going to keep running through your team and keep killing your targets. And in the last team fight, I think that was a perfect example of really nicely timed ultimates, but the damage from D.Va and KDO, I didn't like it.
I think the big point for me is that we do see a couple of tanks like Ornn and Sion. And yes, they're tanky, but the main thing is that they offer CC. That keeps them alive longer. So if they were in the middle of 4 enemies, they can at least have potential to CC them, cause them issues. With the Tom Kench, you don't have any instant CC. You have to stack your passive up, which against a team composition like that with so much CC themselves, isn't going to happen. And as a result, Watley really didn't offer much of anything in those team fights, which we said DegreeSports needed to put their team around. So they quickly realized, right, we're going to have to look for sort of rotational plays. But even in those, they weren't really coming out ahead. And I feel like Lee Brothers on the Gragas, it just didn't really convince me. There are a lot of moments I was thinking, come on, I want to see that aggression. I want to see you go for the body slam flash, throw the cask and use it. And there weren't many moments where he actually used the cask, other than just maybe like a response to the other teams just rolled over us. And
Yeah.
I think I think there's other tanks Watley can play. I know obviously he is going to stick to the tanks almost exclusively. I want to see him on something a bit different, better at team fighting. I want to see more respect coming out from the bot lane because they should not be dying in that situation. And for Lee Brothers, something he feels more comfortable on because the Gragas didn't look like the champ for him.
No, it really didn't. But all credit to Barrage, 100%.
Yep.
They looked super, super good. The way that Monk is and Fastlegged, they just had that whole bot side of the map on lock almost instantly. KDO, when we say that Lee Brothers wasn't making the aggressive plays, KDO was going aggressive on this Barrage. He was going into fights. He flashed Qs to pick up a free kill in the bot lane where other players maybe wouldn't have done that. And just across the board, they were looking very good. Monk, as we were saying, he's a player that makes other players look good. When your other players are already looking good, you got a great performance and a very, very convincing win in the first game of this series.
Yeah, and they're going in the second game in a really comfortable position. Obviously, it wasn't flawless. Icebreaker definitely had some issues in the top lane. But the thing is, you know, we saw in Worlds Wonder picking Jace against Nuguri's Kale, and he stomped and he got a massive lead.
Yeah.
But when your top lanes are Tom Kench, it's not going to be that massively impactful sort of carry you can take over a game. And that's why even though Icebreaker had a rough game on this Kale, it didn't mean that much for the rest of the Barrage roster. But well, we have got a series ahead of us. It's now 1-0 to Barrage. We'll go to a quick break as they sort of put their heads together and try and think of a response to stop Barrage from going for a clean 2-0. So we'll be back shortly. Be sure to tune in to see the rest of the series.